I get stuck in my playing from time to time where I just don't feel like I'm going anywhere or doing anything that feels creatively rewarding. And when that happens, I know that I need to shake things up. I need to try something new. I play in standard tuning a lot, and sometimes to shake things up, I just try an alternate tuning. When you change tunings, sometimes things that worked before, chord shapes, scale patterns, all that stuff just gets tossed out the window, and you really just can't rely on the same old, same old. And for me, this is when some really cool happy accidents happen, and sometimes breakthroughs even happen too. And the really cool thing is that when I go back to standard tuning, I bring some new creativity, some new sounds that I've stumbled on in an alternate tuning. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to get into open E, and I'll give you a few anchor points on the fretboard so you can explore from there. And if you're stuck, hopefully this will lead to a few of those happy accidents on your guitar. All right, I know retuning puts you in unfamiliar territory, but that's the entire point. If you've never explored an alternate tuning, then I want you to lean into it, even if you think that it's difficult to retune and to get into these strange pitches. But we're gonna start by getting into open D. And I know I just said open D, but we're going to open E. There's really a reason behind that and why we're going to do it this way. I'll cover that in just a second, but hang with me and let's get into open D first. This is where we're going. Ultimately, we want to strum across all 6 open strings and have that voicing of an E major chord sound. To get there, we're going to take a bit of a detour through open D. So we'll take the 6th string down a full step to D. Now you can use a tuner or you can just tune to the 4th string, but that is going down in pitch from standard. Then the 5th string stays the same at A, the 4th string stays the same at D, but the 3rd string, we're going down a half step to F sharp. You can use the 4th string 4th fret as a reference pitch, or again, just use a tuner. I like to go below and then sneak up on the pitch. The 2nd string is going to come down to A. Now we have an A, that's the open 5th string, so we can tune to that. Again, I like to get close, go down, and then back up when I tune, but ultimately we're just looking for an A. Then a D on the 1st string. And we've got the 4th string we can use as a reference pitch there as well. So when we're done, we have D, A, D, F sharp, A, and D. Those are the notes of a D major chord. But as I mentioned, we're going to open E. So we can get there quickly from here and safely from here by throwing on a capo at the 2nd fret. And now we should have a big open E chord as if we played this E chord in standard tuning. The reason to add the capo versus to just tune up to these pitches is that it involves just that, tuning up. If you were to tune to this on each string, you would have to tune up the 5th string to a B, so that's tuning that up a full step. Tune the 4th string up to an E, up a full step, and then tune the 3rd string up by a half step. So you don't want to put any more pressure or any more tension on the guitar than is necessary, and a lot of guitarists don't like doing that because of the tension that it will cause the neck. And on a resonator, although you don't have to play a resonator for this lesson, it could put more pressure on the cone. So some folks like to avoid it, and that's why we use a capo, to avoid tuning up. All right, so now we're in open E, and so much has changed. We need some grounding points. We need some places on the fretboard that give us kind of solid ground to stand on while we explore this new open tuning. So we know we've got an open E chord when we strum across all 6 strings, but we need some options to kind of get us into that creative zone. So let's try this one. We can fret with the open 6th string ring, and we can fret the 5th fret on the 5th string. Now that's the 5th fret above the capo. So if you're playing this by tuning up and not using a capo, it's just the 5th fret. Then we move up a string to the 4th string, and we're playing the 4th fret there, and then move up a string again to the 3rd string and play the 3rd fret. So we have these 3 fingers on the fretboard, open top 2 strings, and we've just got another voicing of E major. But it can lead the way to some creative movement. And I used it in my example just by moving chromatically between this. Of course, I dropped the ring finger here, but it's the same idea to the big open E major. I used it quite a lot in the example picking. But what if we want to take this into a real bluesy direction and make this a 7th chord? Well, we can take this index finger and just drop a bar on the 2nd string so that we're playing at the 3rd fret on strings 3 and 2 here. That gives us the D note. Everything else was just from the E major chord, but this gives it that 7th chord vibe and attitude, right? So that's ready to play some maybe more bluesier things, right? Just by adding that one note, you can take this in a different direction creatively. But we need different voicings for the 4 chord and the 5 chord as well. That would be A and B. So let's find out how we can do that with A. I love this one. What we're doing is you can play the open 6th string, or as I like to do with this particular voicing, just walk up from the open 5th string, 1st and then 2nd fret on the 5th string. That's a C sharp, which is the 3rd of our A chord. So we kind of get that cool 3rd in the bass sound happening here. All right. Again, we can omit the 6th string to kind of keep the confusion away that, hey, we've changed chords. We're not in E anymore. We're in something else. But it feels really cool because when we change chords, we're not just changing to an A with the A in the bass. All right, it's a really cool way to do this. Then we'll have the A here on the 3rd string. Right? We can even put that open 4th string in there, an E. That's in an A major chord, so that's legal. Then we've got our A. This is our root right here on the 1st fret of the 3rd string. Again, everything just relative to the capo, so 1 fret above the capo, or the nut if you're not using the capo. But then we can do the same thing on the 2nd string that we do on the 5th, so let's drop that finger down on the 2nd string. And then an open E will work here as well. But I really love walking into this and putting little licks like that in there. Plus this gives us some really cool suspended sounding melody that we can do. So this is a good voicing to know for your A chord. And again, I'm wanting to play around with these sounds to give you some ideas of where you maybe can take this in your open E jams. And that's what I want to give you with this last chord, a B7, right? This is a cool way to think about a B7. It kind of looks like stair steps here going up the fretboard, or I guess descending. Anyway, we've got the open 5th string. That's a B, so that works, right? We're back to signaling that we've got the lowest note of the chord in the bass here, right? Totally fine to do that. But then we can also do that sort of walk-in thing, right? So if this is an E, we're walking into an F sharp. That's the 5th of the B7 chord. And there's our B. We've already encountered that. It was here in our E chord. All right, and then we need to continue that little stair step. So I'm going to the 4th fret on the 2nd string, and then up one more, and I'm going to play the A on the 1st string, 5th fret. All right, so we get that B7 sound happening here. And just like before, we can walk in and experiment with some moves right here around this voicing. to me, just having these different ways to make the same old E, A, and B chords kind of gets me started. It gives me a place to experiment from, and I start trying out little licks and phrases that are nestled right around these chord shapes, and sometimes it doesn't work out. Well, that's okay. The idea is I want to get out of my comfort zone. And to get you going, here's a little sequence I came up with, and maybe you can use it as a starting point. So here I'm mixing in a few ideas really grounded around these chord shapes that I showed you. So we know we've got the open to this little mini voicing that we can use, right? We climb up chromatically using kind of this shape as the target, right? I'm just stripping away the ring finger and just getting to the heart of the matter here, right? But when I do, I'm just playing this classic blues move where I go up to the 5th fret here, drop down to the 3rd, and then hammer back up. Remember, this is the major 3rd of the chords. We can go to the 4th, down to the minor 3rd, and back up. Very classic blues sound. And I'm using that on my way to this little bar here, right? It's the same thing we did before, but I'm not holding the chord shape. I'm just targeting these two tones from it. And then walking down to my B7 shape, but I don't even have to hold that whole shape, right? Could even just jump up here and play these two tones, and then drop down for A as we follow the end of a blues progression. That'll work well. And then we'll go back to this established thing that we did. It's a great way to kind of round out the progression. Don't let your blues playing get stuck in a rut. Get out of standard tuning if you need to shake things up, and maybe try open E if you need a little boost in your creativity. But what if you're looking for a darker sound? Well, then you should definitely try out an absolutely haunting tuning that is sure to get your creativity going. You can check it out right over here or at the link in the description, and I'll see you there. Until then, practice smart and play on.